Hey everyone, Livy here, back with another video. I think I meant to film this last weekend, but is what it is now. Anyways, this is a VR to Simply Han, and this is the tag Loveliest Decks. So there's 8 prompts, and we're just kind of gonna go through them. I picked some decks out. I tried to make this kind of quick. Life's been a little chaotic, so let's kind of get into it. Prompt number 1 for this tag is the Heartthrob Deck. So which deck swept me off my feet at first sight? This deck should surprise nobody because I feel like I gushed about it as soon as I got it. But in this bag, we have the Spark and Pen Tarot. This is definitely, I don't know what it was about it. These are the backs. I don't know what it was about this deck, but something about it made me immediately gravitate. I mean, it could very well be the art style combined, I guess, with the colors in here, because I am a sucker for colors. I love bright colors. I love things that kind of explore the rainbow aspects and such. So something about this deck just immediately kind of swept me off my feet, which again is kind of weird because, as you guys have probably seen through some of these cards, it does have a little bit more nudity. So if it's not like your thing to see people that are like completely nude, this probably will not be the deck for you. But nonetheless, I really love the readings I get from this one. Always very exact. Always tells me exactly what I need. The cardstock is this linen finish that is super, super nice. Oh, I love this full card. It's so beautiful. Oh, this is the only card I really don't like, though. It makes me so sad. But there was something about this deck. As soon as I saw it, I had to have it. I had a long journey trying to get it. Did get it. And then it came back into print. It was out of print for a while. So, yeah, this is my Heartthrob deck. I really love this one. And I always recommend people to get it if they don't have it already. So, Spark and Pen Tarot. Guess we're going to move on to the next prompt here. Okay. Prompt number 2 for this tag is the Hopeless Romantic. So this is which deck feels the most dreamy and romantic, and I guess for me it has to be this one. This is Steam Tarot. This is by Rose Bay. I will say this deck is out of print, sorry, but these are the backs. And there's something about this deck. Okay, to be honest, there were a lot of decks that could have fit this category, but there's something about this one that feels very dreamy, very otherworldly, very romantic. It could be, of course, there's a lot of floral imagery, a lot of beautiful, like, women icons in here, just a lot of sensuality and heart imagery. And I think all those things just combine to make this a very dreamy deck to me and very romantic. Probably without it really trying. I don't know how much it was, because as you can see too, this deck also pulls a lot of religious iconography. But I don't know, there's something about this one that feels very like immediately when, like, so I'm filming this obviously in February. This is a tag for February, literally for Valentine's Day kind of thing. And this is like one of the first decks of the month that I knew was, you know, related to that. So yeah, this is the Sistine Tarot, and this is also my Hopeless Romantic deck. Okay. Next up, prompt number 3 for this tag is the Soulmate Deck. Which deck do I feel the deepest emotional connection with? And to be honest, there were a couple of other decks that could have gone here. One of which I'm using for a prompt later on. So I guess I went with this one. And that's the issue, is like I have too many that it kind of, I feel the deepest emotional connection is just hard, but this is one of them. So this is the Guided Hand Tarot. This is an indie deck by Irene Mudd, still around. It's been around a while. I guess the other two decks were also indie, but yeah, this is also indie. Anyways, these are the backs. And this is another collage deck, but there's always something about this one that makes me think that this is the standard for me when it comes to collage decks. I like ones that feel like, yes, they have collaged imagery, but they also have like actual artwork interspersed. I don't know. I do like collage decks, but I don't always like when they're super crowded. This one is just like the right balance for me. And I feel such a deep emotional connection because there's something about this deck. When I first got it, it just felt so personal. And to this day, like, when it's one of those decks I do reach for as like more reliable of a reader because of that too, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Like, I do 6, instead of doing like a full wheel of the year kind of thing, I do 6 months ahead. And this is probably one of the decks I always will reach for to do one of those, because it's just going to give me my most accurate of readings. There's a few, again, there's a small category of decks that fit into this, but this is one of them. And so I wanted to show this one off because it's just so beautiful. And look at the star card. So beautiful. So beautiful. So for that reason, this is definitely one of my soulmate decks. And I don't know how I could ever not really have this in my collection, to be honest, you know. So yeah, this is that. I guess I'm gonna move on to the next prompt here. Okay, next up, this is the self-love deck. Which deck helps me reconnect with myself and practice self-care? I found this one kind of tricky for me, maybe because I'm not always great with self-care. But when I think of decks and things that I go to more for the idea of self-care or to find like a more calming message, especially when I feel anxious, I actually reach for Oracle. And specifically, the deck that I'm going to show today is this one. This is Thistledown, right? This is by Stephanie Burrows and Adam Ohlers. This is a 3 Trees Tarot deck. And I just I kind of came to a conclusion recently that I have a lot of oracles that are really good now, I have to say. I curated my collection very nicely for myself. But these are the backs. But I have to say, there's something about this deck that maybe it's because it has like really good keywords paired with just the cutest animal imagery that makes this one just a really good like self-care and very kind but also like truthful deck. It's got a good balance for me. And it seems like the readings so far done with it have seemed very accurate and just really, really good. Some of these cards I haven't all gotten yet, but I've had a lot of repeats like this. Actually, no, have I had that one? I don't know if I've had that one. But the keywords also are things like dreams, you know, re-energize was in there, making space, resourcefulness, guardedness. So it's like, this deck is really good at reminding you where you're at and trying to get you to move on from that, kind of, if that makes sense. So retreat, I've had this card quite a few times. Very hermit, you know, in that way. Even this one, safety. So I feel like this deck is really good at doing that job. Oh, I love this. Love this card so much. So this is like kind of, one of the first ones that came to mind. Really good one. I like this deck too because it's a good size. It's like in between, like, so you have small hands and it fits pretty well. It's in between sizes. It's not completely the size of their mini. And obviously it's like broader. But it's really easy to shuffle too. So it's just it's a good time all around to try to use it. But yeah, this is the Self-Love deck. And this is Thistledown. Okay. Next up is prompt number 5, which is the Power Couple combo, my favorite tarot and oracle deck pairing, and why. I've talked about this one already a few times now. I don't think I'll spend too long, but I'll show you guys what I'm talking about if you haven't seen. These two decks are the Zerner Farber Tarot and Coastal Curiosities, but specifically this is like the travel edition or pocket edition. Let me show you. I've talked about this in a couple promptings or in more recent times. So this, if you've been around, this won't surprise you. But anyways, these are the edges. These are the backs. This one's a mass market deck. The other one obviously was also indie. This is also indie. Coastal Curiosities. Yep. Pocket edition. This is by Lennox Reese. These are the backs of this one. And these two decks are kind of like a power couple for me because they are such a good combination. I don't know why. I mean, it's interesting because they're both kind of collage in different ways, and they're both like have a certain color scheme that interestingly enough like matches up with each other. I think also they probably work because this one, like, despite being like similar and having like a lot of color overlappings, this one obviously has more like blank space and this one doesn't. So it kind of gives each other relief while still being like very good together. And because neither of these decks have borders, at least traditional borders on this one, I think they just work perfectly. Like Impulse and the Empress, like what? So good. And as you can see, yeah, I have the mini with this because I feel like these days I use the mini more. Also because it's just easier to pair these two together. It's not that like, because the regular second edition of this deck, which I also have, it is like normal standard tarot size. So theoretically you could pair that with this too. I just like the mini, like the pocket edition, because I just love pocket editions. And I like how easy it is to take both of these around because this one is smaller than standard tarot also. So I just like seeing these two paired together. But yeah, this is my power couple because they are so good and I just don't want to stop using this pairing. It just works so good. So yeah. That is the Zerner Farber Tarot with Coastal Curiosities Pocket Edition. Yeah. Okay. The next prompt for this tag is number 6. This is the Secret Admirer deck. This is a deck that I don't use often, but I secretly adore. And I came to the realization, well, there's a couple decks that probably could have gone in this, but I came to the realization that this is one of them. This is a Paulina Tarot. This is a mass market deck by US Game Systems. It says Paulina Faye here, but she also goes by Paulina Cassidy. This was her first deck though. And I feel like, I always say this too, I feel like this deck doesn't get talked about enough. These are the backs. But yeah, I feel like this deck doesn't get talked about enough, and yet I love this deck. I'm like secretly admire it. I haven't used it in a lot of readings, but every time I see this deck and like see the imagery in this deck, I always kind of want to deep dive it, but I've just never have. Maybe this will, well, actually I don't remember. When am I using this deck? I think in April. I don't know if that'll be the time, but maybe it will. I don't know. There's something about this deck I really like. I think I like that because it was like one of her first tarot decks and such. I feel like she really went in on drawing really interesting figures, using really interesting color schemes and blendings, a lot of intricate detail that is very different from all her other decks. Like if you see her decks now, this is just my personal opinion, but if you see a lot of her decks now, they're definitely more sanitized in a way. I don't know how else to explain it. I think it's because when this deck came out, apparently people were complaining that it was too busy. So she stripped down her style a lot, where the backgrounds especially are more simplistic, and you might see like one key figure, but it won't have like all this amazing detail, which is kind of a shame in my opinion. Although I did see that she has a new tarot deck coming out, or maybe it's an oracle deck. I don't remember. I saw it on the US Games website, so I'll have to look into that one. But for now, this is the only one I have. This one also has more humanoid figures. I feel like a lot of her other decks have more animalistic figures, which isn't bad either. I just think that this deck is so cool. I always want to use it more. Oh, this magician is so good. Like, look at the details here. So good. But yeah, I just don't, I don't use it enough. I always want to use it in the springtime though. So yeah, that's why I think I picked it to be one of my decks for April this year, because it's just so appropriate for some reason. I don't know. But anyways, this is the Paulina Tarot. I really like this one. Really admire it. Definitely need to use it more, but have not. Hopefully this year it'll be a time to change all that. But yeah. Okay. Prompt number 7 is the Forever Love deck. It's if I could only keep one deck, which would it be? Here's the thing. I don't think I could ever just keep one now. But if I had to go back to my origins and all that jazz, I, of course, would have only this one. This is, again, you guys, who is surprised here? No one is surprised. This is the Raven's Prophecy Tarot. This is my first tarot deck. Arguably, this could have been my deepest connection deck, but because I was using it for this prompt, I decided not to double down. But anyways, I've edged mine in this orange color to match the fronts. I had to do that because this deck was dirty and grimy and old, because this was my first tarot deck, and it was my first tarot deck for quite a few years before I got a different one. But this is my Forever Love deck. I still love this one. I'm more precious with it now though, because again, it's older, slightly warped in some parts. I had the better, the old better Llewellyn cardstock. They don't do this cardstock anymore. They do like a really high gloss one, and I don't like it. This deck though is the OG in my collection. So if I had to go back, like if something happened, I would hope that I still have this one, if anything, you know. But yeah, I don't want to spend too long on this because I always talk about this deck and I need to move on, and I have so many other ones in my collection. But at the end of the day, this one always responds to me, and it's always ready, and it always wants to give me very accurate readings. Again, it's also a deck I would use as a 6-month ahead deck. Every time I really have some deep shit I need to get down into, I'll probably reach for this deck to answer it, because it's always going to answer it accurately for me. So, yeah. This is the Raven's Prophecy Tarot, another mass market deck. Again, you can still get this one. Again, it just has like the newer cardstock, which is not great, but is what it is. But anyways, this is my Forever Love deck, Raven's Prophecy. Okay, finally, we're near the end of this tag now. prompt number 8 is not actually about a deck. It's about a card. So this is the love letter card. This is a card that feels like a love letter to myself or someone special. I picked myself for this one, but the card in question, as you can tell from the backs, is still from the Guided Hand Tarot. But the card, again, will probably not surprise anybody. This is the Hermit card from that deck. This card, every time I see it, I just get very emotional. It's just this weird, otherworldly connection. But, I mean, I really relate to the Hermit card, but specifically this image just reminded me so much of my childhood. Even though when I was a kid, it wasn't like records like this. I would have been using more CDs, right? But I still relate to this card a lot. I had so many times where I would just hide away in my room and put on my CDs and listen to music and, you know, distract myself from everything going on around me and write and just try to, you know, create my own safe space. And so every time I see this card, I just feel so connected to it, and it resonates so deeply. always, especially when I was looking at the Guided Hand Tarot again to like do this tag. You know, this kind of popped out at first and I was like, oh yeah, this is the card for sure. But I don't know, I just love it, and it relates so much, or I relate so much to it, so this could only be the one. I mean, there's so many other good Hermit cards too that probably could have been like a bigger one to talk about, but this one is definitely one of my all-time favorites. So I want to show this again, even though, again, people who've been on my channel a while have probably seen this one. But anyways, if you've watched this long, thank you so much for watching. I will thank Han again for this tag, because it was fun, even though I'm now going to be probably posting this belatedly, but it is what it is. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you again next time. Bye!